Hello everybody, it's me, Nuclear Will, and this video is going to be quite different than the others. I'm just going to be talking about my vision of what Titanfall 3 could be, over some Titanfall gameplay. This is my idea, and if you don't agree with something or think that something could change, then feel free to say so in the comments. Anyways, let's jump into the first topic, the setting.
Now who wants to go shopping for a brand new world?
So when I said this was going to be a Titanfall 3 idea, I kind of lied. Although this is a sequel to the previous Titanfall games, it definitely will be different. First thing is the macroverse. Life is made of layers, of things in which the previous layer makes up the current one. For example, quarks make particles, particles make atoms, atoms makes molecules, and molecules make objects. And objects makes universes. Some movies and films will have a multiverse, which is either numerous similar universes or numerous seemingly unrelated universes. The macroverse is a collection of multiverses. Think of bubbles. Each universe is a bubble, and when the bubbles clump together, then that makes a multiverse. The entire bathtub would be the macroverse. Getting from one bubble to another is easy as long as they are clumped together in a multiverse, but extremely difficult when they are separated. It is so difficult that it actually requires a rare element that not all universes are made with, so some universes are physically incapable of traversing. However, one of these lucky universes, which contains this rare element, is the Titanfall universe. The IMC managed to develop a prototype ship which can blindly jump into another dimension. One thing to note is that ships can blindly jump into other multiverses, but to jump to a specific known one requires either portals to be built or some form of coordinates. You can't jump to a specific multiverse without infrastructure being built in that universe to allow you to. Anyways, so the IMC build their blind jumping ship, which contains a hole in the ship for a portal to open so ships can travel between the multiverses. That universe that the IMC jumped into happened to be the Halo universe. Then the UN from Halo and the IMC meet and do political stuff, and after a year or two form the QUES, or the Confederation of Universes for Exploration and Science, QUES for short. This organization is one of the United Nations on our Earth, as it is above all the countries which make it up. 40 to 100 years later, the QUES has encompassed numerous universes and acts as its political entity rather than an alliance, with the remnants of the IMC and UN acting as representatives in council representing their universe. You might have noticed that Halo is a real franchise and is something that I did not make up, and you would be correct. All of the universes/multiverses within the macroverse are going to be, for the most part, real franchises from universes. The rules and limitations on who can be in are very thin, so the major factor that will decide if a universe exists within the macroverse is whether their company says they want their franchise in. And even then, I don't even think they can do anything against me saying that it is in the macroverse and just not incorporate them in any media or game. One more thing to understand before continuing with the cues is how all the universes are made up work. All universes are made up of 3 energy types: physical, magical, and divine. Physical are your Joe Schmo, heat, electricity, atoms, basically everything that you experience in the real world. We can go over magic and divine more in depth later, but as a brief rundown, magical is a volatile energy which can be easily morphed into all sorts of forms or altered into physical energy. Divine energy is basically creation energy, as it is used to convert magic into physical energy. So, as an example, a wizard trying to zap someone with lightning basically use magic that they absorb from the air and store within them, and then use divine energy also within them to convert that magic energy into physical energy, the electricity that makes up the lightning bolt, and then use magic energy to guide said lightning bolt to its target, so it doesn't discharge the wizard casting the spell. I made the system like this because it is basic enough to plug and play with just about any universe, and has some fun potential. Anyways, back on track with the cues. So up until this point, the QUES has visited over 100 universes and multiverses, of which has gotten around 15 of them to be core universes and joined under the QUES. The time where this Titanfall 3 game, I say this with air quotes since, as you can see, it is fairly different from a space parse, takes place is this time. And the next thing to note is going to be the gameplay of said game.
Get the f*** in the room and play Minecraft!
So what made Titanfall really stand out was its different levels of combat. The fast-paced, quick death time pilot level, and the big and slow and powerful Titan level. Of course, I'm not going to get rid of that, and since we have Halo, there's going to be a 3rd, 4th, and 5th level. the Spartan level, the vehicle level, and the aircraft level. To make Spartans stand out from pilots, they're going to be much more bulky and bulletproof, bullying any pilot they come across. They are going to wield larger weapons, which no normal human would be able to effectively wield, and will survive much more punishment than a pilot could. However, they are fairly vulnerable to bigger threats, as their bulky size and lack of agility makes it fairly hard to dodge the high-caliber fire or the punch of a Titan. On the other hand, their larger weapons make them a bigger threat to Titans and vehicles, because as you know, the more firepower and bigger bullet. The fourth level is vehicles, which are going to be like Halo vehicles like the Warthog and the tanks, like the Scorpion. Vehicles encompass a wide range of stuff, so their role or niche will vary, but essentially they will be to accomplish a specific task. For instance, a Warthog could bring you and your friends somewhere quickly. You can also attack small infantry along the way with a minigun, but you will have no chance against a tank or a Titan. The fifth level, aircraft, basically offers the ability to attack everywhere on the map with relative quickness, although they aren't sturdy or powerful. Pilots and Titans are going to be similar to how they were, with a few exceptions. Pilots are going to be even more squishy than before, with getting one-shot by most Titan weaponry. However, unlike Spartans, pilots can drive vehicles and summon Titans. Pilot gameplay will be geared towards hiding from Titans and using vehicles or weaponry to gain enough points to summon Titanfall. Spartans are going to have a simpler playstyle, as they just hunt whenever their kit is geared towards, whether it's pilots, Titans, or whatever. The main game mode of this game is going to be something called Conflict Zone, and it will be played on large maps, which will have all sorts of different areas and biomes, ranging from cramped towns to open fields. Pilots and Spartans can enter the game via two ways. They can enter the main dropship, or on the smaller Pelicans, the Halo ship, not the bird. Entering the battle via Pelican allows you to choose what else is carried on the ship, which could be like a Warthog or a group of Stalkers. You can choose where your Pelican will drop you off on your side of the battlefield, that way so people don't land on the enemy side, and yeah, you know. The first few minutes of the match will be capturing points and then trying to find the enemy. After like 5 minutes or so, an announcement to everyone will be say that the ACCs have arrived, which means that they can call in Titans or aircraft. By the way, ACC stands for Atmospheric Command Center, and they're basically like flying aircraft carriers. The reason for restricting aircraft and Titans is that aircraft allow players to easily find the enemy team, like straight off the bat, and Titans are restricted just to add more variety to the beginning gameplay. Of course, for those who don't want your long matches and are more interested in fast-paced combat, there will be a quicker-paced arcade matches that take place on smaller maps. These arcade games will be more like the game modes that are currently in Titanfall 2 or Halo. They will also have a greater variety of maps, since it's easier to make smaller maps than bigger maps. Something that is going to make the game stand out is the level of customization, especially for Titans. There's going to be a mix of aspects from Titanfall 1 and 2. We're keeping the Titan classes from 2 with the customization from 1. For example, our Ronin-class Titan will be able to use one of several Titan weapons geared towards it, and 3 different slots for abilities. I'll go more in depth on the Titans and their customization in another video if you guys want, but the goal is so that every player feels like their Titan's theirs and there is none like it. Of course, there will be different paint jobs and decals for the Titans, just like Titanfall 2. However, a new addition for customization will be the Titan voice. There will be different voices that you can choose to be your Titan voices. There will be several different default voices that the player can choose to equip their Titan to make it sound to their liking. A really cool addition to this voice option is giving the player the ability to make their own Titan voices. A website or app could be made which will allow the people to record different voice lines for different situations. The extent of this would be pre-recorded messages such as "Welcome aboard, pilot," or "Incoming damage," and stuff like that. The Steam Workshop could be used to put different voices up for the community to use. If this gets off the ground, I would love to work with famous voices such as Jacksepticeye or Project Melody. It wouldn't be detrimental to the game, but it would be a small cool thing that would make the game special in my opinion. Now moving on from an optional addition to a crucial addition is the damage triangle.
Wait a minute!
I say damage triangle with a grain of salt because it isn't exactly a damage triangle to more of a type triangle. I don't know, you'll understand the problem when I explain it. So basically, there are 5 damage types: kinetic, explosive, thermal, electrical, and magical. Electrical damage is complicated, so it'll be covered later, but the other 4 main damage types are much more important. Thermal, explosion, and magic make up the triangle, with kinetic being the neutral one in the middle. Thermal counters explosion, which counters magic, which counters thermal. For example, magic is what makes up shields, so Tone's particle wall, in this game, would be a mana wall. This wall works like the particle wall of Titanfall 2, with it being a damage sponge absorbing attacks. If this shield were to be hit with a generic kinetic attack, like a bullet, it would decrease in health by the bullet's damage, as you would expect. However, if this shield were to be hit by a missile or other form of explosive, it would take more damage than the missile normally dishes out. Hence, magic is weak to explosive. Now, thermal counters explosive, since a missile can be shot down using a point defense laser, which is an attachment for some titans. This is why explosives are weak to thermal. And thermal is weak to magic, as thermal damage, such as a laser, wouldn't be able to do barely any damage to a magic shield. Although it doesn't stop there. Magic-based weaponry, which are weapons which shoot out raw mana, can pass straight through magic-based shields. So, if a titan had a magical shield and your weapon shot out raw mana, their shield meant nothing. However, this doesn't reflect on, per se, a magical fireball created from mana. In that scenario, the attack is thermal and explosive, as the mana has been converted into heat and force. Another form of magical damage is anti-magic. Like how matter has antimatter, magic has anti-magic, which annihilates when in contact with mana. However, magic energy is less dense than matter, as annihilating a grain of matter makes a nuclear blast. Annihilating magic just warms up the area. Anti-magic can be used to rapidly deplete shields and mana stores on titans which use mana. However, anti-magic doesn't do direct damage to titans, so shooting a titan with an anti-magic laser won't actually take away any health. Speaking of Titan health, I've noticed something about Titan's health bars. So when you are playing in a Titan, you have your normal health, and when you run out, you go into your doomed state, in which you have a single bar of health. Getting punched at doom state causes a Titan execution, in which your Titan gets beat up in a cool way. However, lore-wise, why can't you execute a Titan, let's say zap off a Titan's arm like Ion's execution, in normal mode? I'm adding to the lore and what the Titan health represents. Instead of being the strength of the health of the Titan's whole, it'll now represent the charge of an integrity field. Integrity fields, inspired by the game of Orion, basically uses electrical charge to improve the strength of material. This also explains how getting shot in 2 different places equally decreases the health of the overall Titan. Gameplay-wise, the Titan's health works in the same with when it runs out it goes into a doom state, and then at that point you can get executed. Lore-wise, being doomed means that your integrity field is overheated and burned out, and your Titan is only protected by the armor it is covered in, which, spoiler alert, isn't very strong, as weight is taken into account more than health. This also applies to tanks and other heavy vehicles. Since integrity fields are big and heavy, not all vehicles will have them, i.e., Warthogs won't have them. Back to Titans. To reflect on how different Titans have different health bars, batteries, which will be replaced with heat sinks, will reflect on how much maximum health a Titan has. This means that some Titans are going to have more heat sinks than others according to their health. Strider Titans like Northstar and Ronin will have 1 heatsink. Atlas class Titans like Ion, Tone, and Monarch will have 2 heatsinks. And Ogre class Titans like Legion and Papa Scorch will have 4 heatsinks. Unlike in Titanfall 2, where taking a battery does damage to you, stealing a heatsink decreases your maximum health and your current health. Of course, putting a heatsink in a slot increases that Titan's maximum health and gives them the health of that increase. However, you can't be killed by having your heatsink stolen if you are doomed, as at that point your integrity field has already burned out, and you don't really need the heatsinks. Going back to the damage triangle, energy only seems defensive. Why use it offensive a thermal attack if any shield disregards it and you can get the same damage with a kinetic attack, right? Well, integrity enhanced armor is weak against thermal damage. Shooting a laser at a Titan will cause a hotspot to form on that section of the hull, and at a certain point will start dealing damage over time, even after you stop heating up the spot. Think of Scorch's thermite, but thermite is stuck to you. Another thing to note about thermal damage is that it encompasses more than just increasing the target's temperature. Decreasing the temperature also causes damage, as ice forming on metal deforms it, so ice-based attacks are also strong against integrity fields. And unlike hot attacks, which damage over time, ice attacks will generally do their damage all at once. However, keep in mind that you shouldn't try to mix the two, as trying to heat up the hull of a Titan while freezing it will just cancel out the two and do minimal damage. And finally, but not least, electric damage, like arc grenades or lightning or EMPs. Essentially, these do no to minimal damage, but instead stun the Titan or vehicle. However, to a much more severe degree. Really light constant electrical damage, like being in an electric smoke cloud, won't damage and will basically scramble your vision like being hit with an arc grenade in Titanfall 2. Being hit with an arc grenade in this game will be much more consequential, as it will completely disable you temporarily. You won't be able to move, see, or even eject out of your Titan for a short period. Of course, there will be a Titan kit that will make it less severe to get hit by electric damage. The cause of this is that most sources of electric damage in the game will be either weak and constant like ionized smoke, reworked electric smoke, or strong and one-time use like pilot arc grenades. Titans don't have to worry about being constantly stunned from continuous strong electric damage. Planes will be harder to hit by electrical damage, but if you are hit by a strong electric attack, well, let's hope that pilot was in the sky long enough to reboot his systems. Enough about the slightly complicated damage types. Let's move to another reason Titanfall 2 is the best FPS ever. The campaign. Of course Titanfall 3 will have a campaign. Hopefully it will be as good as Titanfall 2's. I'll talk more in depth of the campaign in another video, but basically you will play as the characters in a squadron. The campaign will consist of the players playing as the different characters in the squadron. The different characters that you will switch to will show gameplay of both being a pilot, a Spartan, and driving Titan's vehicles. The plot of the campaign will be that you work for an exploration ship that jumps to different universes to scout them out, and represent the Qs to any Earth or alien that exists there. The player will explore the Earths of numerous existing franchises. The point of the campaign is to introduce the player to the new concepts of the game as well as the lore of the world. I don't exactly have it thought out, so I can't really go in depth, but if you guys ask for a video specifically on the campaign, I will give you a video. I think that my idea of Titanfall 3 can be a huge success. If and once this gets the traction it needs, it'll be the next big game, and numerous games can follow suit taking place in the Macroverse. I can make more videos in depth on lore and gameplay and the Titans' weapons, pilots and their weapons, Spartan and the Spartan weapons, and many more. Please like and subscribe so you can hear more about this project of mine, and hit that bell so you know when the next video about Titanfall 3 comes out. Thank you and have a great day.